Hello and welcome, race fans, to the race recap, a day late and a dollar short race recap from Atlanta, the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. I apologize that I was not able to do the recap last night, but I was actually in Atlanta for the race last night, and after that race was over, ended a little later than we expected, and I went to eat some chicken wings, and when I got back to the hotel, I felt so horrible that I was just like, I'm not even going to bother trying to do a race recap tonight. So I figured I'd just do it the next day when I got home from Atlanta. In fact, I'm still a little under the weather, and I'm sure sitting outside in the rain didn't help matters. But I actually got sick before I went on my Atlanta trip. I could feel it coming, and I knew I was going to be sick all weekend. And I didn't even bother with a pit stop for this week, so I do apologize if you missed that show this week. But I just couldn't do it. I could not physically do it, and I wanted to save my energy for the Atlanta race. I've been trying to stay hopped up on Dayquil and NyQuil to make it through this. And I'll tell you what, I think it's the NyQuil. That NyQuil stuff, I had the strangest dreams. I guess it was Saturday night. I dreamed that I was in this beach house, and it was haunted. And there was some Asian lady outside when I was trying to leave throwing harpoons at my car. And I think it's the NyQuil that was causing those types of dreams. But I went down to Hotlanta, which seemed like it took forever to get there because of all these closed roads and construction work everywhere. Getting down there was just such a pain. But when I finally got down there, I made it in time for the truck race. So me and my buddy who went, we decided to hop over to the truck race, which was good fun. A lot of fun, that truck race. I always love watching the Camping World Truck Series. They have really good finishes, and this one was pretty exciting. They came in for the last pit stop, and they're playing by the same rules too. They can only have 5 guys over the wall as well, so they're kind of, everyone is in this same boat of the pit stops are really critical. And all I can tell is Kyle Busch was leading the race. He was dominating the race, actually. He was going to win the thing. No one had anything for him. He had the best truck. He goes into the pits, and as he pulls into his pit box, they had a problem on the right side. And all I can think is that he saw the other trucks peeling out, and he decided to just go to save time and only do a 2-tire change. What he did not realize was that the tire changer had already taken the lug nuts off of the left rear. So when the jack dropped, he just decides to go. And as he's going around, the tire obviously comes off because there's no lug nuts to hold it on. So the tire falls off. He puts the car in reverse and reverses his little 3-wheeled truck all the way back to his pit box, dragging the undercarriage of that car. You know it was doing all kinds of damage. Finally pulls back into his pit box. They put the tire back on, but by that point, his car is toast. The race was over for him. Goes down to Johnny Sauter on the restart. But Brett Moffitt gets one of the best restarts I saw all weekend. Takes it 3 wide into turn 1, passes them, and just takes off, set sails. No one has anything for him, and Brett Moffitt holds on to win his second career Camping World Truck Series race. Fantastic race. I loved it. Every minute of it was good. It was a great race. Lots of battling up front between Crafton, Johnny Sauter, Kyle Busch. Great racing all around. Even have video up on our NRN Facebook page. You can go over there. You can also see some video from the race itself on our Instagram page, Noble Racing Net on Instagram, to see all that kind of stuff. But great race. Kyle Busch blows it. The crowd went crazy cheering for his troubles there, but Brett Moffitt holds on to win. A great race. And Johnny Sauter almost got the win. I actually expected him to win the race after Kyle Busch had the trouble. I thought, okay, well, Johnny Sauter's got this in the bag, and he's going to win 2 in a row because he won down in Daytona. But Brett Moffitt just beat him to the start and got a really good run going into 1. Took it 3 wide. That was some fun racing to see. And those guys did a good job making that stick. But happy to see Johnny Sauter having such a good season so far, because his crew chief, sadly, his wife passed away over the off season. So it's just been real good to see them guys having some good races and able to hope they continue to do well. But when the race day came, it was cloudy. Everyone thought I was going to be a washout. I kept checking the Weather Channel, and they were just saying, it's going to rain. It's going to rain. It's going to rain on my head. And everybody was talking about, they might run the race on Monday, but then it was supposed to wash out Monday. So thinking, are we even going to watch racing? Have I driven all the way down to Atlanta to just sit and watch the jet dryers race? Is that what I've done? But I tell you what, getting into the track, let me talk about Atlanta, the track itself for just a little bit. probably one of my favorite racetracks that I've been to. I've been to Rockingham, went back to Rockingham in the old days. I've been to Charlotte half a dozen times, I go every year. Been to Martinsville. I've been to Daytona. And I've been to Atlanta. And I'd say Atlanta does it the best. Drove right in there. You just drive right in there. You park. It's free to park, by the way, which is something that Charlotte needs to learn. Free to park. You drive right in there, right up to the track. You hop on a shuttle. The shuttle system is perfect. It's free, too. You get on the shuttle. They drive you around to the front stretch. It drops you right there at the track. And there's all really nice festivities in there. We went in there. We watched the race. When the race was over, we left, got in my car, drove right out of there. No traffic. That was the best system I have ever been to in a race. Because usually after the race, you sit in just hours of traffic. That's how Charlotte is. When the race is over, your night has only just begun. Because you're going to be sitting there forever trying to leave that track. But I tell you what, Atlanta, not the case. We walked right out of that track, hopped in our car, put in Wild Wing Cafe, and went on our way. Went on our merry way, just like, okay, we're out of here. We're going to the Wild Wing, eating dinner in 20 minutes. Best racing facility I've ever been to. Not a bad seat in that place. Atlanta Motor Speedway, they got it going on. They got it going on. But we did wind up sitting in the rain. We got there, and of course, by the time we pulled into the parking lot, it just started downpour. And it rained, and it rained, and it rained, and we were getting discouraged. Like, we're not going to see any racing today. Are we going to see any racing today? But there was a break in the radar. About 2 o'clock, it was going to stop raining. So the jet dryers are out there, and they're trying to dry the track off. They're doing as hard as they can. It finally stops raining, and they get the track dry. And there's like a window between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. But after 5 o'clock, the rain's coming back, and it's going to downpour. So we're probably thinking, okay, they got to get to lap 170 to make this thing official. So maybe we'll get to see some racing, but maybe not the full 500 miles. But I tell you what, the race started, and it rained all around that track. We kept looking at the radar, and there was rain surrounding the racetrack, but it never actually rained. And I was joking with my buddy Tommy before the race. I said, Darrell Waltrip had this stupid-ass theory called a vortex, where when the cars got going, it created a vortex that would keep the rain away. It's stupid, right? I mean, there's no way that that's possible. That is so stupid. But after the race, I told him, I said, hey, you know what? Maybe there's something to that vortex theory. Because it rained all around our hotel where we were staying. Downpour. Absolute downpour. But never rained at that racetrack. So we got to see the full 500 miles. And boy, what a display from Kevin Harvick. That car looked illegal, folks. Another 78 going into the race. Failed inspection 3 times. Martin Truex Jr. They kicked his car chief out. Sent him packing back to Colorado. Wasn't able to stay for the race. But I tell you what, Kevin Harvick, that's the car they need to look at. That car looked illegal. At one point, he had to start from the rear of the field because they had some pit stop issues. So he starts in the back. And it wasn't no time before he was back up there at the front. On that last restart, it was him and Brad Keselowski, and he pulled away. And within, 8 or 9 laps, he had about a whole turn on Keselowski, went on to an easy win. Kevin Harvick picks up the second race win of the season, first of the year, and Ford's first of the year for Stewart-Haas Racing. And by the way, Atlanta has become the new Rockingham. You remember Rockingham, the surface of the track would chew up tires, and they could only run, about 30 to 40 laps on a set of tires. And then they'd come in and they'd change tires, and all of a sudden they were Superman again. Atlanta has become that way, where they only ran, I think, about 30 laps on tires. Tires and speed would fall off so quickly. And then all of a sudden you see a car pit, and they'd get back on the track, and next thing you know, they were posting the fastest lap times of the race with a fresh set. Atlanta is becoming the new Rockingham, where tires are critical. And pit stops, there were lots of them. About 10 pit stops is what they were going to have to do. Every time the caution came out, everybody would hit the pits. There wasn't a whole lot of cautions, a lot of green flag stops. And people were making mistakes on pit road. We saw Kevin Harvick make some mistakes. Kyle Busch's team made some mistakes. We were seeing lots of mistakes out there as they wrestle with these new pit stop changes. It is going to affect the outcome of the race. There was a lot of guys who had good positions going for them who lost those positions because of the pit stops. So like I said earlier, The pit stop rule changes are going to affect the outcome. And I think that's fun. And the pit stop times we're starting to see, they were really slow in Daytona, but they are starting to come down just a little bit. And I think they'll only get quicker as guys continue to fine tune what they got and what they're doing. It'll only naturally come down. I tell you what though, Ford is making me look like a dang fool, because all I did was talk about during the offseason how Ford wasn't going to be strong because they had the oldest body and that they weren't going to be any good. And here they are dominating, not only in Daytona. Now, of course, they didn't get the win, but they were the quickest cars down there in the draft. And in the first mile-and-a-half race, which is the best gauge to see who is doing well and who is doing not, the Fords dominate. Absolutely dominate. The Stewart-Haas Racing Fords, all of them were running well. All of the Penske Fords were running well. Fords. They were killing it down there, making me look stupid. Making me look like I don't know what I'm talking about. That's exactly right. But I tell you what, you know who's not doing too well? Is the Hendrick Chevys. What is going on over there? Those guys, they could not get it together. I don't think any of the Hendrick Chevys finished in the top 10. None of them finished in Daytona. Lots of work needing to be done at the Hendrick camp. In fact, the only real crash of the night came with Jimmy Johnson spinning out in turn 2, 7-time. Not a good start to the season from him. But let's take a look at the top 20 finishers in the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. And from Atlanta, Kevin Harvick would be taking the win, starting from 3rd. And like I said, that car just looked illegal, but he would take the win in his Ford. Brad Keselowski would be 2nd, and Kevin Harvick's Stewart-Haas teammate Clint Boyer would be 3rd. Denny Hamlin would be 4th. Martin Truex Jr., who had to start at the rear of the field because his car failed to pass inspection 3 times, he'd get all the way up to 5th. Joey Logano, another Penske Ford, would finish in 6th. Kyle Busch would finish 7th. And Kurt Busch, who led some of the race, he'd finish 8th. Kyle Larson was the first Chevy to finish 9th. And I do take that back. Chase Elliott, a Hendrick car, would finish in 10th after starting in 27th. Eric Jones would finish in 11th. Ryan Blaney would be 12th. Eric Almirola, 13th. Good run for him. Our Daytona 500 winner, Austin Dillon, would finish 14th. Daniel Suarez would be 15th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 16th. Paul Menard 17th. The young William Byron would finish 18th. Jamie McMurray 19th. And Alex Bowman would finish in 20th. Those were the top 20 finishers in the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500 from Atlanta. Now, this coming up week, we're going to start our West Coast swing. We'll be in the West Coast for 3 weeks, starting with Vegas this weekend, so that should be a fun race. And we'll have to see if the Fords continue with their dominant pace or if the Chevys can come to play. We'll have to wait and see, but of course, you know, the Penske cars are always really strong at Vegas, so we'll see if Penske can finally pick up a win. But so far, our winners this year were Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick, which means both of those guys are locked into the playoffs, and that is dangerous because if Kevin Harvick can stay on form like he was in Atlanta, man, these guys in the field are in trouble. But I am very sick, Justin. I'm going to go take some more NyQuil and see if I have any more weird dreams. I hope not. I'm going to go take some of that, though, and I'll see you guys next week. Hopefully I'll be feeling much better in the week, and I can do a pit stop, and we'll talk about the race from Vegas next week. Take it easy. This is NRN. Thanks so much for watching. See ya.